15,000 visits a month is what the Surrey Food Bank plans for, a lifeline for single mom Andrea Ritchie and her 11-month-old daughter Nora. The pair left an abusive relationship and are struggling to find housing, daycare, and a job. Right now, she's only bringing in about $1,000 a month.
Formula is very expensive. Diapers are very expensive, so, I'm on income assistance right now, and it's certainly not livable.
Andrea and Nora live in Surrey, where child poverty is at its highest in the metro area. Province-wide, the 2016 BC Child Poverty Report Card shows there's 163,260 children living in poverty, or 1 in 5 in our province.
Many of them earn incomes that make it impossible to provide the appropriate supports, services, and care for their children on a day-to-day basis. And we find that completely and wholly unacceptable.
20 recommendations came out of the report, including the need for a poverty reduction plan, highlighting affordable housing, a $10 a day childcare plan, increasing the minimum wage to $15, addressing First Nations poverty, and providing additional supports for youth aging out of foster care.
Really, the answer to that is to support people through, a rich social welfare system, and help them get a job, help them find the skills that they need to get into the workplace.
That's what Andrea is trying to do, but it's a struggle, one she's willing to fight.
I want to go back to school and get a job, so that's the only reason why I feel like there's a bright future, is because if I can get a career, then, at least I can be making money and supporting my daughter.
Jennifer Palma, Global News.
Since 1989, the statistics haven't changed much. In fact, Saskatchewan's child poverty rate increased to 32%, but still sits at a high 25%, meaning 1 in 4 of our children are living below the poverty line. That ranks our province as one of the worst, second only to Manitoba.
What was really shocking and surprising was the high poverty rate for children on reserve and for Indigenous children.
69% of Indigenous on-reserve children live in poverty, which is more than 2 for every 3. Compare that to the non-Indigenous off-reserve children, where only 13% live in poverty.
That really is unacceptable in a province as rich as Saskatchewan. Well, it'd be unacceptable anywhere, but Saskatchewan's actually did fairly well in the last 10 years.
Peter Gilmore is an advocate with the Regina Anti-Poverty Ministry, and he wasn't surprised by the results of the study.
The depth of poverty in Saskatchewan is extremely deep. Households living not just below the poverty line, but thousands of dollars below the poverty line. That's the real issue.
The study states government transfers such as child benefits and tax credits do make a significant difference, but because of a gap in the system, they aren't always utilized on reserve.
Unfortunately, I think there's still sometimes jurisdictional disputes about who should be handling what. I think we need to get beyond that with respect to child welfare.
The U of R's Faculty of Social Work says all Saskatchewan citizens need to speak up and pressure politicians to end the cycle of poverty.
When talking about Indigenous child poverty, when they characterize that as a shameful neglect, that should be eliminated.
Krista Sharp, Global News.
The lumber mill my spouse has been working at for the past 10 years delivered notice they were closing and all workers were let go without pay or severance.
Putting players in the shoes of low-income Nova Scotians is the goal of this board game, called The Hand You're Dealt.
They get a hand of cards and they have to play the cards on their mat and try and fit within their predetermined budget and still try and afford food at the end of the month.
These rising poverty numbers are a concern for many reasons. As we know, there's a human cost to poverty, but there's also a significant cost in terms of health outcomes and healthcare dollar spending.
So we have a single parent and then a 2-parent household.
Organizers of the event want poverty and food security to be an election issue. They invited candidates from each political party to play the game. The only ones who didn't show up are the Liberals.
We think that the provincial government can have a big role in implementing these kinds of increasing the minimum wage, changing the income assistance levels, and so we want to hear from them about what they feel their role can be in this problem.
The impact poverty has on the healthcare system was the focus of an interactive event led by food security educators from Mount St. Vincent University. Poverty levels in the province made national headlines last year when a Canada-wide report showed Nova Scotia led the country in food bank usage. But that's only a snapshot of the real problem.
We know that those who are food insecure, only a portion of those who are food insecure actually draw on the food bank, and that's for a variety of different reasons. Shame is one good reason why people don't go to the food bank.
Candidates had an opportunity to share their thoughts on poverty after they played the game, a message organizers hope will be carried to the legislature. Alexa McLean, Global News, Bedford. Many election conversations are happening in doorways across the province, but Feed Nova Scotia says there's one topic that desperately needs to be addressed.
How to reduce hunger in this province.
Last year, a national report showed that Nova Scotia had the highest increase in food bank use than anywhere else in the country.
Out of all the provinces, we have the highest level of food insecurity outside of the territories. It's a number that we need to change.
Food security and poverty go hand in hand. Policy expert Christine Saulnier says there needs to be a comprehensive plan in place to truly help low-income Nova Scotians.
We need to be connecting the dots across government departments to really address the root causes of poverty, to figure out how to not just provide people with income supports who aren't able to work, help people who are in the workforce, help them be able to afford what they need in their lives. It requires a full poverty reduction strategy.
Party platforms haven't been rolled out yet, but each party is looking at poverty through their own lens.
I believe that when we get the cost of living down to an affordable level, that will be reflected in a much lesser need for food banks, and it's something that I would love to see, and I think we have a plan to at least help in that direction.
We have to have a comprehensive program of investment across the board, and a very key component of that is going to be to end the situation where we have 45,000 people who don't even have enough coming into the house that they're able to buy their food.
You have to work with people where they are, you have to meet their challenges, and you have to make sure that other challenges in their lives are supported, such as addictions, mental health. Those are all root causes, housing, of poverty.
No matter what strategies the parties have, Jennery says it's the follow-through that counts.
If you think about the elements that make up poverty, they probably include housing, income, access to food. Bring the experts together who know that subject matter and say, what's the right program for Nova Scotia? Now let's implement it.
Alexa McLean, Global News, Halifax.
As a mother of two, Jane knows how hard life in the city can be.
Worrying about how am I going to buy diapers, or how am I going to get, enough groceries.
She used to live in Regent Park, which has the highest child poverty rate in Toronto. She moved before her 10-week-old daughter was born, but the frustration remains.
I wish my child had just as much access as the kids in Summerhill. Their kids are in all these programs, where my kid doesn't even have a standing chance because my tax bracket isn't at the right mark.
It's a common struggle. According to a new report, our city is the child poverty capital of Canada. Many kids aren't enrolled in arts and sports, and they're struggling academically compared to children from higher income families. And that means a major divide in how the haves and the have-nots access services in their neighborhood.
Kids are going hungry. They're living in housing that is too cramped and inadequate. And that's translating not just into struggles in their lives, but struggles for their future.
Pretty shocking to us that a city of quite great wealth, like Toronto, would have the highest rate of children living in poverty.
Now, to give you an idea of the divide in some neighborhoods, the side of the street you're looking at, well, that's Leaside. The child poverty rate on that side of the street, only 4%. But when you cross Laird onto this side of the street, which is Thorncliffe, that number jumps to 52%.
There's many families who are needing to access food banks more and more, especially in areas such as Etobicoke and Scarborough. The rates are increasing. Also, families are going into debt to access childcare services.
That's why social agencies urge the city to remember the children and not cut spending on city services and programs.
We really need to see a 2017 budget that invests meaningfully in that poverty reduction strategy. We aren't going to reduce poverty by cutting services.
Until then, it's a walk through a city divided for Jane, one that can make her job as a mother a true test every day. Marianne Domain, Global News.